It is time now for Built for Success, presented by Ram Trucks. And it's a top 10 showdown as 10th ranked Penn State hosts
All right, we got
third-ranked
class
Michigan
coming onto the
for the
set.
annual Stripe-Out game. Penn State is looking to keep their conference title hopes alive, while Michigan is looking to stay undefeated at the top of the Big Ten standings. With just a few games left on the season, this one could have big implications for the playoff race. Penn State, 5-2 all-time in Stripe-Out games. So now we bring on Sam Acho, because every time he comes on set, we are undefeated. No L's in the loss columns. And Sam, we're here to talk about this game a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
I told my toes on the set.
And let's just get right to it. We saw the news.
It looks like it's really him.
You saw what happened with me. They took me out for the rest of the regular season, Sam. What do you got to say about the Big Ten decision?
Man, I like the decision. I'm not going to lie to you.
Thank you.
It's a 3-game suspension, and it's effective immediately, except for there's an injunction, so it may not be effective immediately. But I don't think it's too harsh, nor do I think it's too small of a penalty. This is the same thing that happened that Michigan gave itself a self-imposed suspension. Jim Harbaugh did the first 3 weeks of the season. So the team, from a team perspective, is used to playing without their head coach. Then from people who are saying, hey, man, it should be bigger a penalty. Well, I think that losing your head coach for 3 games, 2 of which you played 2 top 10 teams, one being number 10, one being number 1, I think is a significant penalty. But Michigan's filed an injunction saying,
yeah, you know how that goes.
Yeah, you can't suspend them just yet. Let's see what happens.
I don't understand, though, and it's kind of funny because last week we sort of joked, like, yo, no, they're going to get this suspension after this Penn State game, and they're going to come down and say he suspended 1 game Maryland, but he'll be back in time for Ohio State. But let's talk about that little nuance in the suspension. It's still such an advantage that he gets to coach the team the entirety of the week. So come on,
that's
man.
very true. To be able to coach the entire week, that's when the entire game plan is built. Right? You play on a Saturday, off day is on Sunday, you watch a film. You may come back on Monday, or maybe off on Monday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is all the prep day. He'll be there for that. Friday, prep and travel, you'll be there for that. Then Saturday is when you're not there. So those in-game decisions, maybe they aren't available for Jim Harbaugh, but you've had the offensive coordinator who's been that head coach. You've had the DC. You've had Jim Harbaugh's son have that role those first 3 games. And so I think the team will be prepared for the situation.
And I got one more question as it relates to this suspension, particularly with this university. It's a blue chip, winningest program of all time. At what point does the standard have to be the standard, right? Like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You mentioned the 4-game suspension, self-imposed to begin the year. Now there's another 3-game suspension at the end of the year, man. Where there is smoke, there's way too much fire. And I think you said the suspension might be the perfect amount, but at some point, when's Michigan going to learn, man? Because they're setting the standard for the rest of college football. This ain't Southeast Louisiana. No disrespect to the Lions down there, but Michigan is Michigan, man. When are you going to make an example out of somebody?
Well, it depends who you're asking. If you're the Michigan fans, will say, hey, man, why? Not necessarily we're getting picked on, but this is just, they're just mad because we're one of the best teams and they hate Harbaugh. That's what Michigan people are saying. People out who are not Michigan people are saying, yeah, they need to be an example. There has to be some kind of middle ground. I get it. Some people have their stake here, their stake here. And I think the middle ground is this 3-game suspension in which Coach Harbaugh can be there during the week because of who they're playing.
Okay. All right, so let's spin it towards a matchup. Penn State, Michigan. I think one of the biggest things to pay attention to this game is that Penn State offense versus that Michigan defense. Still yet to have a team have a 1st and goal this season against that Michigan defense. And the average touchdown that people are scoring on Michigan is over 40 yards. And one thing we know about that Penn State offense, you and I talked about this before on this show, they do not make explosive plays over 40 yards. So how does Drew Aller and this Penn State offense fare against this Michigan defense?
Well, he needs to build on what he did last week. Drew Aller had a pretty solid week last week, but overall, we haven't seen him be effective with his receivers. So you're going to have to see some of his receivers step up and make plays. And you're going to have to see the offensive line, the running game. We didn't see that when they played Ohio State. There was no running game. It was 20-12, but really that last 6 points was at the very end of the game with 49 seconds left. And so I think you're going to have to see maturity from Drew Aller. It's probably going to have to be big, but his tight ends and his receivers have to make plays for him, especially against a staunch Michigan defense.
All right, they're going to play with 13 men, 12 men on the field because it's at Beaver Stadium. So they advantage them, right? Who wins?
I think Michigan wins. I think that Michigan wins this game. I think part of it is I think they're the better team. But also I think this whole Harbaugh situation will galvanize the team even more, whether Harbaugh's on the sideline or not, based off this injunction that's being filed by him and his lawyers, or the team's lawyers. I think the team will really come together, block out the noise, or better yet, accept the noise and use it as fuel for their fire. Because you said where there's smoke, there's fire. They got some fuel.
All right, here's the thing. For me, and everybody's going to think that I'm coming off as a big Michigan hater. That's because I am. Penn State, ball don't lie. All right, Nittany Lions going to take care of business. And this is gonna put away the conversation if Michigan deserves to be a CFP team. Because if they lose to a top 10 team, get out of there. Get out of there.
I will say, if Penn State is going to be able to get points on Michigan, it's going to be thanks to that defense. When you look back towards that Ohio State game, they had that fumble return for a touchdown. Had it not been for Marvin Harrison getting that holding call, still making plays, even though the ball isn't thrown to him, that would have been a different game. There's no Marvin Harrison get out of jail easy button for Michigan in this game. So I do like your pick, and why not? I'll go with Penn State too. We got it on the show. So Sam, who'd you say you got? Michigan?
I like Michigan, but man, y'all heard it here first.
Man,
well, he was in the NFL and played at Texas, so y'all should probably listen to him.
We like hot takes over here. All right, Sam, appreciate you for joining us.
Give me something.